There's this good old boy network that I was just determined they're gonna have a visitor one day, and I'm gonna knock on their front door and I'm gonna say, hey, you didn't expect one to come out, and I'm out. And not only am I out, I'm educated. I know what it is that I'm here to do, and I'm not the typical candidate. I want people to understand that public policy does not. It shouldn't just look one way. It should be representative. It should be a clear representative of the people in which it serves. So your board should be reflective of your constituent base. If you are serving in a city and your city is diverse, your board should be diverse. So I tell people that many have not made it out. Many have not made it out. And I remember I made a vow to God. I said, Lord, if you get me out of this mess in my right mind, I'll come back and I'll tell them. I'll tell them what I know. I'll tell them the secrets. I'll show them the secret doors to go into to get out. I said, but if you get me out of my right mind, because there was many times I knew for sure I'm going to lose my mind. I felt like I was on the brink many times, and I could feel it, and it was so close. It was so dangerous because I was a mother with 4 children. It was dangerous to look at 4 kids and be battling these thoughts of suicide, of depression, of harming your children. That is real. People battle it every day, and then we wonder why our children, especially minority children, are having such a hard time in school. It's because the burden is on the parents. It's on the mother. And if we don't help support that mother, we're going to continually have these dysfunctional children that are learning in a different way. If we don't start having teachers to come in this classroom to cater to the way they learn, this is an abnormal environment in which they are being brought up in. And I don't care who tells you what, being a single parent is not easy, especially if you have more than one child. And for someone to have 4 children, not married, and yeah, I did, and that's a whole nother story when you marry a man that you knew wasn't good for you because you just hated the stigma. I married my last 2 children's father because I hated the stigma of being a black woman with a whole bunch of kids, because people didn't think you would be anything. Oh, you're good for nothing. Oh, you just gonna have them babies and you just gonna go, on welfare. The value or the expectation of my contribution level was, I couldn't find anybody that believed that I could do anything but have kids. And so I got married because I wanted to fit into the married crowd. And that probably was one of the worst things I could have done. You would have thought that it would have been better. But when you got to marry the right person. And that sent me on a whole nother journey. I made a decision to get my children into a healthy place because that's the least that I could do. That was the least that I could do for them. So, the story really is me being motivated to save a lost generation, yet me being part of contributing in the natural, what your first eye might say, well, she has all these children, different dads, and she's not married. Oh, she blends in with them. But it was me climbing this ladder, me becoming educated. This is what education does. It provides opportunities. I got opportunities to travel to Africa. I've gotten opportunities to work at the General Assembly, in which that's where I like to tell people, it's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. So if I had to explain my life and make it symbolic, I want you to think of The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy was on this road, on this yellow brick road, and she was trying to get to the Wizard of Oz because the Wizard of Oz was going to let her come home. So here I am trying to find out why. Who is making the rules and the laws and the policies to entrap us in the juvenile detentions and then in the welfare systems and in the public housing, in the prisons, in the mental institutions? What kind of policies who's making these policies? I had to find out who. So here I go on the path And then, yeah, you got to get some courage, because I was scared to death at one point in time. So I've met courage. I had to meet it and become one with that. Actually, I am an author and a speaker. So I get paid to speak at various youth organizations throughout the North Carolina. So my son is in the back like, yeah, because I take him with me when I go, and we get to stay in hotels.
So you earn this money.
I earn this money.
But it is a nonprofit?
Well, the nonprofit does the whole resident council. And I don't draw a salary from my nonprofit because it is a neophyte nonprofit. It is a new nonprofit. We have one staff. And I don't draw a salary until that organization is strong. Especially I'm in campaign mode, and I don't want, we're a 501c3, so I never want there to be a question about me using, you know, grant monies for her job to fund a campaign. No. So I'm the nonprofit executive on one side. I'm the mom, the campaign, the city council, and then on the other side I'm an author and a speaker, and I have, you know, 2 books that I've recently written that's due to be published probably in the next 2 months, actually.
What are the name of your books?
One is called Get Your Hands Out My Pocket, and it's a guide to helping you avoid the child support system. The other is Get Your Hands Off My Butt, and that's a guide to helping you avoid becoming a baby mama. So I've taken my life and I'm going to use it as a do and don't do. Things to do, things not to do. But everything I do is policy. Everything I do is public service. And I just want to draw the lines and draw the implications, make them clear. What policy does and how it impacts our life. And I do that through the books. I do it through stories. I give examples. It's the Get Your Hands Out My Pocket. It's a handbook for men. And it's small. It's a small, easy read. 84 pages, easy read. And I want them to know that you got to do the front work first. It's relationship building. It's communication. It's getting rid of ego and pride. It's humility. Because if you and that mom don't have a good relationship, chances are, don't leave her house with your children to go and live in another person's house taking care of their children, and you're not taking care of your own. Mistake number 1. So it's just some things that we have to learn how to do, because once you come into that system, right now I have so many constituents that are on house arrest for failure to pay child support. And once you go to jail for failure to pay child support, you're just as guilty of committing a murder or selling drugs. Why? Because no one sees anything but the fact that you've been arrested. And you can't become gainfully employed. So here we are, so many issues, so many systems that snag us up. Yeah, so many broke systems that keep us feeding this dysfunction. And enough already, enough. The second book is Get Your Hands Off My Butt, and that's a guide to helping you avoid becoming a baby mama. And what I found with that is, how do you avoid becoming a baby mama? Like I said, nobody wakes up one day wanting to be a single mom. But I've learned, had I had these things before, I would not have become pregnant, especially 2, 3, 4 times over, without being married, without finishing school. So it gives you a roadmap to a vision for your life. I didn't have that because my parents were in the struggle. My mom was a single mom. My dad was out there. He did the drug scene for a while, leaving my mom to take care of the children. So her first priority was making sure she had a roof over her children's head and she had food on the table. And she never got welfare. So it's my hope that this book helps young women catch a vision really quick. And it really tells you also, even if you made a mistake, or not even made a mistake, even if you've gotten pregnant and you have a child, get a plan of action. So that's what the book is for.